You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Extension Hour. I'm Amy Ressler, County Extension Agent for Family and Community Health, and we're here every Friday right here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 and 106.1. We always enjoy being here because we love talking about what we do in Extension. And we take turns, so sometimes you hear different people. You know what? Last week you heard Mike Heimer, and sadly, it is Mike Heimer's last radio show as a County Extension Agent for Agriculture because he's retiring. He's been with Extension like 40 years, been most of the time here in Montgomery County, so he is like, we can say a legacy. Yeah. So we'll be really sad to see him go. But we're having a retirement party for him, so anybody who's interested and knows Mike, feel free to come on out. That'll be on March 29th. Any kind of details that you want, contact April at our office. She's got all the details, and she can tell you kind of what's going on and all that good stuff. Number at our office is 936-539-7825. And actually, there's a couple of different ones. There's 25, there's 24, there's 22, there's 23, I think. There's several.
There's a plethora.
Yeah, but they all get you to the same place, and there's like kind of a menu-driven system. But anyway, so that's kind of, I guess, one of our big news things. But other than that, programming will still be going on. So I guess one of his last days, what he's going to do on March 27th, is conduct one of the private pesticide applicator training. So folks that need that, you can definitely get that, get your continuing education hours from the Extension office, and that'll be the morning of March 27th, 9 till about noon or so, I think. It takes about 4 hours, costs $50. That covers everything that you need to get those continuing education hours. So definitely look into that if you need a private pesticide applicator training. That's a lot of words. So then also our Master Gardeners, they're really busy doing lots of good stuff. And the one thing that people know the Master Gardeners for, always looking forward to, is the plant sales. So there's a fruit and nut tree sale that happened in January, and now it's time for the spring plant sale. And that will be March 24th. That starts at 9 a.m., but before that, they do a little presentation, help people know kind of what they're looking for. And that will start at 8. The presentation, and then the sale actually starts at 9. And they actually say they only have a limited number of wagons. So if you're interested and you have a wagon, bring your wagon on out so that you can load up and take lots of plants home.
Yeah, I'll step in here. I came in at 7:30 to the plant sale last year.
Yeah.
It stood in line.
Yeah.
So be prepared.
Be prepared,
It's
yes.
popular.
It is. And because it's really, they're good, high-quality plants. The Master Gardeners have, some of them they've actually, started from seedlings themselves in the greenhouse that we have there. But they're going to be selling citrus, avocados, berries, vegetables, perennials, native plants, and much, much, much more. So if you want more information about that, too, you can check that out online, mcmga.com. You can also check them out on Facebook because they've got a great Facebook page. They post lots of helpful tips and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, our 4-H project, 4-H program continues to grow and go, and they're really busy right now. It's kind of like contest season for them. So actually, Mike and I are going to be out at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo on Sunday, and we're going to judge the food challenge. Yeah, so that's, a lot of people think of the livestock show, food challenge, what? But, there is a really strong connection between agriculture and food. And so we have our 4-Hers learning about that, learning how to prepare food. So it's really, it's kind of patterned after Iron Chef. So they can, they bring their tub of equipment, and then they go to their table. They have a bag full of groceries. They don't know what's in it, and they make something out of it. They have 40 minutes from beginning to end to make something, figure out what they have, make something, figure out how much it costs, what the nutrients are. And what else? How much it costs, nutrients, and any kind of food safety principles that are part of that. And then they bring it in front of a panel of judges. They do a little interview, and they are really amazing. So I love doing that. That's one of my favorite things. But besides that, there's lots of other, they're actually showing the animals, at a livestock show, rodeo. Imagine that. So they're doing that in their 4-H program. And then also they'll be getting ready for some other contests that we call Roundup. And that's just kind of a culmination of all the projects that they've been doing. They've got several contests that they can participate in. There's quiz bowls. There's public speaking contests. We call them method demonstrations or educational presentations.
Robotics.
Yes, robotics. That's a fun one. And that's another one people don't really think about being associated with 4-H.
That's not a garden.
It's not
an animal.
It's not an animal, not a garden. Doesn't grow, but it goes.
Yeah.
Yep. And the food show, food challenge, quiz bowls. What else? Food fashion show, fashion storyboard, a little bit of everything. So if there is something that you want to do in 4-H, something you want to learn about, you can definitely do that through 4-H. So it's a great youth organization. Kids 3rd grade through 12th grade can participate. So they'll do a county roundup, they'll do a district roundup, and then they have the chance to go to Texas A&M University campus in June and do a state roundup. So
that was a blast last year.
Yeah, that was Mike's first introduction. In fact, introductions, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. It's good to be back. My name is Mike McBride. I'm the program assistant in the Family and Community Health part of the Texas A&M AgriLife office here in town.
Yeah, because we do lots of stuff. But
Oh, yeah.
Family and Family and Consumer Sciences, Family and Community Health. We just recently changed our name, so officially probably still is
Yeah, I
Consumer
teach
Sciences.
nutrition.
But,
Be teaching my first Master of Memory class next week. Do a lot of finance education. Be getting trained and offering very soon dealing with chronic health, whether you're the patient or you're the caregiver. So lots of opportunity. If you are interested in a class in your organization, your office, whatever, give us a call. We'll see what we can do to help you out.
Yeah, because we do try to be very responsive to requests and the things that are out there in the community. So speaking of that, before I get ahead of myself and introduce our lovely guests that we have today, I want to also talk about our Montgomery County Walk Across Texas Community Challenge. Woo! It's time for Walk Across Texas. So we've been doing this in Montgomery County for the last 4 or 5 years. Actually, I think it's probably been going on even longer than that. But we've been having like a really focused challenge in April and May of every year. So it's time to do that again. The idea is we've got people in groups of 8. So you team up with 7 of your great friends, or they don't necessarily have to be your great friends. They can be coworkers. They can be people in your neighborhood, family members, whatever. We just want teams of 8. It can be up to 8. So less than 8, but not more than 8. And then there's also a solo walker opportunity too. So if someone just wants to walk by themselves, they can certainly do that. So within the 8 weeks of the project, we want people to do enough physical activity, so walking or other physical activity, to equal 830 miles, which is roughly the distance from Orange, Texas to El Paso, Texas. So you don't literally walk across Texas. It's very virtual. And you don't have to do it all together as a team at the same time, although lots of teams have a lot of fun doing that. You just do some types of physical activity. Everybody walks on their own or does other types of things. There's a conversion calculator online that helps people figure out how that meets up to miles. And 830 in 8 weeks. And you know what's so cool about it?
What?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
So it 830 miles, 8 team members. That's about 10 or 11 miles per team member. About the time that it takes to walk 10 or 11 miles in a week is about 150 minutes, which is actually the CDC's recommendation for healthy adults, that we get 150 hours of physical activity. So it makes sense. It's very scientific, but at the same time, it's lots of fun. It's very motivating. I even find for myself it's motivating because I know I should walk. But when I know that I have to turn my miles in to Jenny in our office, because Jenny says, I need your miles, and she puts them in as our team captain. I know that I've got to report that, so it makes, I'm going to go ahead and walk today, even though I don't want to. I'm going to go ahead and walk because Jenny needs my miles.
It's 190 degrees with 7,000% humidity, and we're going to walk.
Well, says the man who came from Alaska.
Yeah, this is true, too. Yeah.
Because so one of the reasons actually why we choose April and May, is because it's really good in terms of weather about this time of year. That most of the really coolness, what we consider cool, not someone from Alaska, but what we consider cool, that's passed. The time has changed, so the sun stays out longer. So it's easier to go out and walk after work or whatever, but it hasn't gotten like blistering hot yet. So April and May is a really good time. We have prizes. Prizes are always fun too.
And the disclaimer here, I am a Texan, born and raised, spent 30 years in El Paso, last 25 years or so in Alaska, still it's good to be back in Texas.
Yeah.
Great place, and I love these programs that we're doing. It's so much easier to get the exercise here than it was back up north, because who wants to go walking when it's 35 below?
In the snow,
Oh my
uphill
gosh.
both ways.
And the people here are nicer.
Yes. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
you get to work with cool people. Okay, so we've been talking about the programs that we do in Extension, and so we come up with lots of great ideas, trying, like I said, being responsive. And so we do a lot of short-term responsive programming, but we also do what we call long-term planning. And that long-term planning we call the Texas Community Futures Forum. So every about 5 years or so, we have community forums where we invite people from the community, just a variety of individuals who have an interest in seeing their community be a better place to live. And we ask them to come meet with us. And in those forums, we ask what their ideas are, what kinds of needs do they see in our community in the next 5 to 7 years. What kind of things need to be addressed? So we actually did that in Montgomery County a few years ago. It's been 2 or 3 years ago. And so we're currently in a cycle where we're working on meeting our Texas Community Futures Forum goals, or TCFF is what we call it for short, because we like acronyms. But our Texas Community Futures Forum, when we had that a couple years ago, one of the issues that came up was homelessness.
Yes.
And helping to address the homelessness issue in Montgomery County. And so, some folks may look around and think, we don't have a problem. But we do have some issues to deal with here in Montgomery County. And so our guest today is the lovely Diana Garbis. And she is the new executive director of the E3 Center. So Diana, say hello, introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. I'm Diana. I'm the brand new executive director of the E3 Center, which stands for Equip, Educate, and Empower. We're located here on 2nd Street, just a few blocks from the downtown area in Conroe, and we're hoping to be opening that center very soon. We're the brainchild, actually, of the Montgomery County Homeless Coalition, who started here in 1999, and it's really about bringing a lot of resources together, bringing organizations together, and putting together a plan to help move the needle, so to speak, on poverty and homelessness. I think what we think about of the homeless, you're thinking of the person sitting on the street corner, the panhandler, that sort of thing. And we have some of those, but there are a lot of people who are near homeless, who might be considered homeless in other scenarios where they're just not making enough money to pay for shelter. They've had a loss of a job, gotten sick, so they're living with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
There might be multiple families in one home. They may be living in their car. There's a lot of different ways to describe what a homeless person would be. And this is not only going to work with the homeless, but also those people who want to make a change in their lives financially. We're trying to move people from poverty wages to a living wage. And there are a lot of people working at minimum wage who need to make $12, $13, $14 an hour. You just can't pay your bills. Sure. So that's what the center is going to be doing, putting together the programming, working with multiple organizations, and really opening our doors to those that, are looking to make a difference in their lives.
Right. One of the things that I love about the whole concept of the E3 Center is it's a solution. Because we can talk all day about the problems in our communities, but, in Extension, we're all about extending knowledge, providing solutions. And so I'm just really excited that we're going to be able to help partner with the E3 Center and providing some of that education and being a part of the solution to make the problem less severe here in Montgomery County. But we're going to have to take a little bit of a break. But we're going to come back and I want to talk a little bit more about the E3 Center, how it came about, and then how some of our listeners can be part of the solution as well. So come right back in just a few minutes. We're listening to Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1. We'll be right back.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Hey guys, this is Connor.
This is Dick.
This is Chris.
And we're with the Ticket Stub Podcast every Thursday live at noon on 104.5 and 106.1 FM in the Conroe area. Also, anytime at irlonestar.com. You go to irlonestar.com/TTS. You can find all of our social media.
And don't forget, we give away 2 tickets to the Grand Theater on every show.
If you like movies and you like complaining or celebrating anything that has to do with the silver screen, check out the Ticket Stub Podcast and join us every Thursday at noon o'clock on Lone Star Community Radio.
Welcome back on this lovely afternoon in March 2018. What is today? March 16th, and tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. And I'm feeling lucky because it's great to be here. This is Amy Ressler. I'm County Extension Agent, Family and Community Health with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. I've got Mike McBride with us. Say hi, Mike.
Hello.
And I also have Diana Garbis.
Hello.
And we are talking about one of the issues that does face Montgomery County. I mentioned a little bit about how one of the things we do in Extension is the Texas Community Futures Forum, where we're looking into the future, trying to see what issues there are that we can help address with Extension and through education. And, we were talking about this, and I think part of some of the people that were on that committee that were in part of those listening groups and those feedback groups were in the middle of planning things with the Homeless Coalition, and saw that it was going to be an issue. And so that was one of the things that came to the forefront in our discussions of things that are going to affect Montgomery County, that are affecting Montgomery County and were at that time. But, unless we do something about it, it's going to continue to affect us. And so, as I mentioned before, too, we like to talk more about solutions and not just the problems. And so a great solution is bringing in an executive director for an E3 center. So we have Diana Garbis with us. Diana, tell us a little bit about your life before the E3 Center.
So I've been in social work, social services my whole life. I started when I was 12, so I'm 30 years later. But my last 2 jobs, I was actually running community centers, which was putting a lot of services together, working with low-income families. I'm a longtime resident of Montgomery County. I actually had planned to retire, and then I heard about the center, talked to some of the board members of the Montgomery County Homeless Coalition, and it was just really exciting. The vision that they have, the being able to open this brand new building with all the services, and it's been constructed specifically for workforce training, for counseling and educational purposes. So it was just, too good to pass up. So here I am, not in retirement, and helping them work on the programs that are going to be offered there, obviously raising money and making this thing come to fruition. We've been working now to get the building open, to get the phones turned on, and we're just about to open the doors. Pretty much in April, we'll be able to begin doing services. And part of what the coalition has been doing as well is to begin to bring those organizations together, like yours, like Lone Star College is actually going to be offering workforce classes there. We have built a culinary school inside of the building. It's beautiful. Has 8 workstations for students to learn how to cook, fry, cook. And this was one of the employment opportunities that kept surfacing as people wanted to learn to be line cooks. And so they're going to do a fast track program there where the students will be able to go through in about 3 or 4 weeks of intensive training and then go out and get a good paying job here in the community. So we're very excited about that because it's the first culinary school here in the county, and very excited for the college. Very excited about that. So that will be happening there at the center, as well as we're going to be offering a lot of other workforce type programs. We're going to be doing some case management where we will help families individually work on a plan of service, what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. Because the reality is, as I said earlier, a lot of these families are just need to make more money.
Right.
They just need to be more financially stable, and so we're helping them figure that out.
Right. And it's not that they don't want to or that
Right.
they can't. It's just that
Right.
they need certain skills to
Right.
be able to be marketable.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And so besides the actual workforce classes, we do what we call soft skills, which is to help with the resume writing, dressing for interviews, preparing for interviews, and then helping them actually, come up with a career path, something that will, as I said, it's not just a job, it's something that will actually, pay them enough money to pay their bills and take care of their families. So that's going to be a big part of what we're going to be doing. We'll also be doing something called financial literacy, and that has to do with the fact that many low-income families operate on a cash basis. Mm-hmm. They don't have checking accounts and savings accounts. And so what happens is they lose a lot of money even on having to deal with everything in cash. You have to pay a large, fee to cash your checks. There's a payday lending issues out there where they get stuck with a payday loan to pay off bills, and then they can't make the payments on the payday loan, and pretty soon it begins to snowball, and whatever equity they had is just gone.
Right.
And a lot of low-income families that are just making it on a monthly basis, they're really just one illness, one injury, away from being homeless.
Right.
And then it's like starting all over again. Once you lose your apartment, you lose your stuff, and then you've got to build it all back up again.
Right. So I think one of the interesting things about the E3 Center is the way it came about is maybe a little different than some of the other projects that help prevent homelessness. So you were telling me that there was a space available, mm-hmm. and then there was an idea, where mm-hmm. sometimes there's an idea and then there's a space. But tell us more about how that happened.
So I think they came kind of maybe at the same time. The Montgomery County Homeless Coalition has been doing a lot of educating and coordinating services with monthly meetings, and so they, it's always been an idea that they wanted to do more. But there was a space that became available. It used to be the Montgomery County Food Bank. They built a new building, and so here's their warehouse, and their freezer area was available but just needed to be remodeled. So the other thing that occurred is the county does regular surveying of the community about what they think is important, where they think resources need to be put. And so homelessness and helping individuals, low-income families, was one of those things that surfaced in the last few years. And so it was an opportunity to receive county what they call a block grant. And the block grant allowed the building to be remodeled. So it went from this bare bones warehouse in what was just a refrigerator, area, mm-hmm. to this kitchen. We have 3 classrooms for teaching. We have 8 offices. We have a shower area. We have, a lot of opportunities now. It's a beautiful building, frankly. I hope people can come by and visit us sometime to be able to do these resources. And then from there, they began to build the partnerships with the other agencies who are now going to participate in this. For example, Volunteers of America, they're going to be doing their financial literacy work there and their workforce programs. We're going to have Workforce Solutions there, helping people find jobs. The Crisis Assistance Center, their Hand Up program, helping with their basic needs program, but also helping people with those life skills and work training. Easter Seals will be there doing their Bank On program, which is, again, getting people into a banking situation and out of, the cash and it's just educating people on how to use those resources. So there's going to be a lot of individuals. We also will have adult education classes there. And so GED preparation, it's just going to be a lot of things going on. It's a very exciting time to be here and to get this operational.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, too, that it is not a shelter.
Right.
And that might be a misconception that people might have when they hear Homeless Coalition. It's a place to go stay. So it's not a shelter, but you will be able to refer people to shelters so that they can find housing and shelter and that kind of thing, but it's not necessarily a place to stay.
Right.
It's a place to go and learn and find resources to help people help themselves.
Right. And I think as much as anything, we're just kind of the umbrella. You know, the other agencies will be providing a lot of these services, but it's a way to get everybody in the room, everybody talking, kind of experiencing, so we're not duplicating services. Also, what happens with social service agencies, we require paperwork, you know, that go along with that.
Right.
And what happens is that an individual who's really under stress and need winds up having to tell their story over and over again, because they go to this agency and fill out an application, and they go to that agency. This will allow them to come to one location where they're known, where they are, you know, cared for, so to speak. I heard the term, everybody's going to know your name, you know, from Cheers. And that way they don't have to tell their story over and over again. And then as a group, the different organizations participating, and there will be many more before this is done, will be able to walk through with that person on what they want to do. And so they won't have to, you know, drive around and go to all these different places. And so it will be way more efficient in how we're doing it, and hopefully more effective in really moving more people out of poverty, out of homelessness, and into, you know, productive living situations where they're contributing, you know, giving back to their community.
Sure. So another thing that you had mentioned too about the umbrella and everybody knows your name, and the idea of having to tell your story over and over again, you know, for someone who lives a fairly comfortable lifestyle, it may not seem like, you know, that big of a deal. Just go get help. There's help out there. Just go get it. But you tell that story over and over, and it can kind of become a self-defeating narrative, and it makes it hard to get out of. I mean, it's kind of like a cycle, and that's what we call it often, a cycle of poverty. And a little bit about what you mentioned in terms of the banking and even trying to put down a deposit on a new place, and that there's not much money left. I mean, you have very little to begin with, and then it doesn't go very far because you have to pay these huge amounts.
And people don't realize how important your credit is. And once you know, mess your credit up, it's hard to even rent an apartment. So not only some of the programs are going to be building people's credit back up so that they can, you know, like I said, once you start losing things and you get down to that bottom, it's just really hard to rebuild it all back up. And we don't think about it when we're in our comfortable situation, when you're going out to look for a job. You know, we have transportation. Do they have transportation? As we know, public transportation is an issue. So, you know, getting back and forth to work, some of them, I've been in organizations where we had to buy bicycles so that people could get back and forth to work because they just couldn't afford a car. When you have a car, you have to have gas, you have to have insurance, you have to have all those other, what we call kind of wraparound services to be able to do that. If you're a parent, a single parent, then you're dealing with childcare. Childcare is extremely expensive and sometimes not in the right location, again, when you have limited resources. So, you know, figuring out ways to be able to help people get childcare. And there are programs for individuals who can get some supplemental childcare while they're getting back on their feet and getting to work, but they may not know that. And so, you know, we'll be that big information umbrella to connect them to the dots and to, you know, keep working with them, little steps at a time sometimes, to move them through this process.
Yeah, so I think that's such a wonderful thing that you're doing here, being able to help people out, and that one-stop shop thing just makes such a huge, I think it's going to make such a huge difference. So we're here talking about the E3 Center. We've got Diana Garbis with us. But we want to talk a little bit more, too. I mean, you've kind of skimmed over, but let's talk a little bit more detail about some of the things that the E3 Center is going to be offering. And then also, I want to talk a little bit, too, about how people can help, because such a great idea. There are a lot of people helping, but it takes all of us to make it work. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that. In the meantime, you're listening to 104.5 and 106.1 Lone Star Community Radio.
A Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internship opportunities, a Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to grab the mic and be on the air. A Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world all year round. be an on-air personality, talk show producer, or YouTube, TV, podcast editor. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Welcome back. I'm Amy Rustler, County Extension Agent, Family and Community Health. Got Mike McBride, Diana Garbis. We've been having a really great conversation about some of the solutions that we have here in Montgomery County to help with the homeless issue. So, Diana, I think an interesting thing that you said earlier, too, about you mentioned homeless or near homeless people. So you were telling me federal government defines homelessness as on the street.
Right, on the street, not having any shelter and having been out there at least 30 days. And those are the ones that you typically think about. As I said, you see the panhandler or someone who's sleeping under a bridge. Those are what the federal government called homeless. But there are many, many more people who are really, fit a different definition of homeless or near homeless. And I think those will be a lot of the individuals that we'll be serving, because it's really difficult if you're in crisis to be able to think about going to school or taking a training class. So we have to stabilize them first. And so that's where all the partners will come in, those that are offering basic needs services like crisis assistance, the food bank. There's other places that we'll have to try to stabilize them. But that's where the case management comes in. That's where the coordination of services come in. And that's where the whole team effort will come into play to be able to help individuals. And there are individuals, obviously, who are homeless who also have mental health issues. So those will also be will be a point for that. We obviously won't be treating people at the E3 Center, but we'll be working with Tri-County and getting people connected to their services. There also will be one of our referral partners. We're also going to be holding. You mentioned listening opportunities. We'll continue to be listening in the community for what else we need to be doing, bringing groups together to meet and talk about how we address this as a group. I think there's a lot of power in numbers. So if we were all kind of speaking on the same wavelength and talking about the same things, it makes it very more impactful to others who might want to participate in this. Potentially to go out and find grant money as a group to bring additional resources. We know there's still gaps here. Even with the E3 Center, there'll still be resources that we need to help bring to the county and to the center to help individuals. I mentioned that earlier about all the things that an individual needs to get better. So it's going to be a big group effort here. We just happen to be the convening organization who's going to help make those things happen and just be the resource. And by having the building there, that's a wonderful start. That's really rare that you have, a building dedicated to putting the community resources together in one location. We're right across the street from the Salvation Army shelter as well. So, obviously we'll be a resource for them too, and potentially individuals who, need work. We can help get them connected to some work training, preparing individuals to go to college. It sounds easy. Well, I'm just going to, go off to college. And, I've had a few of my failure to launch children myself. But theirs was just, not so much the skill set, but, not just where they were. But you have to be prepared to go to school. You have to be sure, know how to navigate the college system. And it's not as easy as it sounds if you haven't had that experience, or even just getting to school, again, if you don't have a car.
Right. When you talked about near homeless, too, that's a lot of folks out there are just one event away from becoming homeless. So it can take, a severe illness, a car crash, a natural disaster. I mean, all of those, there's just a number of things that can put people into a situation where they're almost homeless or actually homeless. And so part of what the E3 Center is designed to do is try to help people before they hit rock bottom. So it's more of a preventative. So I think that was another thing that we wanted to make sure was really clear, that the E3 Center is not just for those who are defined by the federal government as homeless, but anyone who is potentially at risk, struggling, having a hard time, trying to make ends meet. There's a center, there will be the center there that's available to help find those resources. Because I can tell you, I've been in situations in my younger years very similar, and it becomes so overwhelming. I mean, you know that there's help out there, but it's hard to know where to go, who to reach out to, and somebody says that somebody else says that there's help here for this, and then you call and you get put on hold, and then you get the runaround, and you can't get anybody to help you, and nobody understands how desperate you're feeling, or it feels like no one understands how desperate you're feeling, and then you have to go to another agency. It just it can be very, very defeating, and then it also affect mental health. That was one of the things we talked about before too. And Mike, you came to us after being a counselor.
By training, I am a mental health therapist. I have about 25 years experience working as a crisis emergency therapist, doing drug and alcohol programs in a prison, just a wide variety of venues. But we dealt with the homeless on a regular basis. And it's very difficult sitting in a hospital room with somebody who is floridly psychotic and has no place to go. And I know that's not the E3 Center, but once they get stabilized, they need the help that an E3 type center can offer. And that's people coming back out of the involuntary hospitalization. I'm trying to be polite here. They don't have a place to go. And I know that Tri-County probably has services, but they're overwhelmed. Some of the stats I was looking at, more than 65,000 persons with disabilities did not have regular means of shelter just a couple of years ago. The report I'm looking at is fairly old. 45% of the chronically homeless have some sort of mental health disability or chronic illness. Yeah, so you're looking at a large number of people walking around with diabetes that's not treated. And so by the time it finally is treated, it costs the medical system a small fortune to take care of that person. Where they need the care now, as preventative medicine needs to be given to them. Children, I can't speak English now. Approximately 25% of Texas homeless are 17 and younger. So how did they get an education if they're worried about where's the next meal, where are they sleeping tonight?
Sure, and we know from when we teach nutrition, a child that is more worried about where their food is coming from when they're hungry, it makes it really hard to learn. And we could get into the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but you need those basic needs taken care of before you can start thinking about other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just amazed me. I think the one report, a fairly recent study that I saw, said that there's close to 400 people every night sleeping under bridges out in the woods here in Montgomery County.
Wow.
400.
Yeah. And a lot of those are children. Are those just the adults?
No, that's 25% of those would probably be kids too.
Yeah.
So 100 kids sleeping outside. I know at a meeting I think we were both at yesterday, talked about, VOA was talking, Volunteers of America was talking about one guy that was living under a bridge in New Caney during the hurricane. And he either could not because of lack of transportation, would not, I really don't know the circumstances, but he spent the hurricane under a bridge until the water got so high that he had to find other shelter. So he's out looking for shelter during the middle of the storm.
Wow.
And then when the storm water subsided, he went back to his bridge. And so now they're helping him to try to get into a home. So that's a huge step for this man.
Sure.
That happens here in our county.
And when you are feeling defeated, that there's not a whole lot of help out there, that helplessness, hopelessness feeling is just not good at all. But again, the E3 Center is there to provide hope, to give people some outlets and a place to go where they can find what they need.
Right. And as I said, we will be working hard with the other organizations to connect them to those resources, and not just turn over a phone number and say, go call this, because it is very, very hard to pick up the phone and then you get a busy signal or you get a voicemail. but really making good referrals and knowing the resources and being able to have individual conversations with other organizations so that somebody's walking with them through that door and getting that help, and not just handing them a piece of paper and say, go over there, they'll do something for you.
Sure.
And there are a lot of, you mentioned adults, but there are a lot of children that are homeless, and I think so there's a misnomer there. And I can tell you right now there are children in Conroe ISD that are homeless. All public schools are required to provide services to homeless children. There's several hundred children at any given time in Conroe and the area who are homeless, who are receiving services through the school, the free lunches, and so we'll be, working with that with them as well to be able to connect them to the resources and start walking with them too. And you don't know who's homeless. They don't all just wear a sign that says, "Hey, I'm homeless." I mean, it's like I said, it's obvious. Some of them are obvious,
Sure.
but there are lots of people that are sitting right next to your child in a classroom who also are going home to a shelter or, living, we call it couch surfing, where you hop from house to house and relative to relative and friend to friend, and you carry your little bag of clothes with you as you move from place to place and get evicted and, have to pick up and live in your car, and they move around all the time.
Sure.
So as you said, it's really hard to learn. It's really hard to grow, when you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, or you don't know where you're going to lay your head that night.
Right. I saw on when I was looking online for some of the information about the E3 Center and the Homeless Coalition, I saw a very poignant picture of a man on the street holding a sign, which is not a sign that someone would hold, but it does have a very powerful message. It's, "I used to be your neighbor." So again, it's not those people. It's not a certain kind of people that this happens to. It could happen to anyone. It could happen to our neighbors. To us, it's one of those real issues that is close by. But again, it's good to know that there's something to kind of help people from getting too far into that, and but it is available to help wherever people are at as well. So make sure that we mention that.
I mean, we're obviously housed in Conroe, but we anticipate serving all of Montgomery County, and we'll be working with our partners, in East County and South County, and working with the other organizations.
Yeah, I live over in East County, and I know there's one lady that we walk up and down the highway.
Mm-hmm.
She has a cup from each of the fast food services, and when she passes by, she'll go in and get a free refill. And these people are not, they know she's been doing that for weeks and months on end. Just let her get a drink.
Sure.
But the people I live with, and I have often questioned, where does she sleep at night? And it stirs a conversation in my household because a couple of guys are saying, well, that's her choice. There's services, if she wanted to get out of it, she could go. But that's not the case. I know, especially with a lot of teens, they're escaping from domestic violence and sexual abuse, and they're just running, but they have no place to run to. Right. So they end up on the street being victimized again and again.
Yes, it's big things, big issues.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about it a little bit more. And like I said, I wanted to focus on solutions and let people know how they can help. And then also want to recognize some of the people who have contributed to the E3 Center and making that come about. But we're going to have to take another little break, but we will be back in just a minute at Lone Star Community Radio.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app for your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That is Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
For those of you who like your partners, your gumbo, and your music salty, well, we're here to help with the music. Julian Shea here, host of Lone Star Country Nights Thursday, your weekly dose of roots and Americana and all the music that makes this part of the country special. We stir in Western swing, honky-tonk, Zydeco, Texas blues, outlaw country, and put a pinch of red dirt, and then we smoke it over a slow fire. Then listen to the results Thursday nights on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Welcome back. This is Amy Ressler, County Extension Agent, Family and Community Health, and I've got Mike McBride and Diana Garbis. We are talking about the E3 Center. So part of the is a brainchild of the Homeless Coalition. And probably we need to explain that just a little bit better. But the E3 Center is the 3 E's. So we're talking the letter E, and that stands for equip, educate, and empower. And when we look at equip, that's preparing someone mentally for a particular situation or a task. Educate, the acquisition of knowledge and skills, and empower to help someone become stronger and more confident, especially controlling their lives. And that's really what the E3 Center is all about, a kind of an umbrella. Yeah, is what you mentioned. That's a really good analogy of lots of services that help people who are homeless or potentially homeless to prevent that or get that or get out of homelessness, to start new lives and to really get lives back on track, so that to meet some of those needs that they have. And we had talked about how difficult it can be kind of navigating all those systems. So it's really great to have that all in one place. And so I think that that's just an awesome concept. And so you've had some great people on your steering committee that have kind of helped make this happen. I wish Nancy could have been with us today. Nancy Hines.
Yes, she's really been the driving force of this, and it's been a lot of her vision, as well as others on the board of the Homeless Coalition. But to make all of this happen, and as I said, it's a lot of organizations coming together, a lot of voices in this. I'm late to the party. I mean, it's nice. I'm going to be here when it opens. But this has been actually in process for 3 years now. It's a lot of putting the pieces together. Reconstructing a building takes a lot of work and effort, and putting the designs together. And then, the steering committee started about 9 months ago, and they have been meeting every month to work on the mission of the organization, which is the mission is to equip, educate, and empower Montgomery County families and individuals to greater levels of stability and self-sufficiency. The vision is a county united to equip, educate, and empower for a strong community. So this really is a community effort.
Yes.
It's also the effort of the county's community block development grant that we received, and the support in helping to make this building happen. So it's really a lot of individuals and a lot of groups getting together. I didn't mention our GED educational outcomes, who's going to be working. They do a GED a little bit differently, in that it's more of a trauma-informed process, where they're really kind of it's not as structured, because it meets the individual where they are, and sometimes you have to do that. So they will also be offering classes there, and it's just going to be very exciting to bring all these resources together. And right now we're getting furniture for the building, and as I said, turning the phones on, and we're needing to finish furnishing the facility. So that's another thing that we're looking for some help there. Volunteers who might be able to be interested in helping us, because we're going to staff this very bare bones at the beginning, and so we'll need some help there. So there's opportunities here, I think, to give back and to support what's going on here in the community. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Okay, so the exciting thing this week, you got your phone turned on. So you have a phone number now.
I do. It just came on today. So it's 936-521-2146. Or you can go to the Homeless Coalition website, which is www.mctxhomeless.org. And on the website, we have more about the E3 Center and some of the things that we're doing. And as we get this opened, we'll be able to even, share more about it, get more marketing information out there, and become more visible in the community. That's part of what my job is to do, is to talk about this. There's a nice opportunity to be on live radio for the first time, and be able to share the message and get it out to more people about what's happening. It's very exciting, and it's just a real. I told this to someone on the Courier a couple weeks ago. It's a rare moment. I mean, really, to bring so many people together, so many community organizations, so many voices, so many people interested in making a difference in their community, and this is for Montgomery County. So.
Sure. It's a very complex problem, so there's not a really simple answer. But I think that this group has been really innovative in trying to simplify it as much as possible to make it, like we said, a kind of a one-stop shop where you can go one place and you can get help and and move forward and do new things. You mentioned you are working on a staff, right? So you're interviewing for a case manager.
We're looking for an intake case manager who will help be the point person for the services. So that's going to be happening soon.
Okay, so what's an intake case manager going to do?
Well, we're looking for someone who will have that initial interview, or the walk-in person coming in looking for services, who will spend time with that individual or family, really taking a deeper dive into what the needs are, and then begin to help them build a plan on what they want to do. And it's their plan, not our plan. And then helping them navigate all of those systems, making those phone calls, doing the follow-up, connecting them in the center to the services, the classes, whatever resources they need, but also the external resources that they might need that aren't going to necessarily be housed at the E3 Center. And then to continue to follow up, to be that cheerleader and the encourager to, make sure that somebody's, cares about whether they're successful or not. Because you talked a little bit about this, but you can get very low and feel pretty hopeless. And so, we are going to be offering that hope to individuals, and that somebody cares, that they're not going to be sleeping on the street tonight, or that their children aren't going to be sleeping in a car, that we want to make sure that they get the opportunities and the resources that they need.
So again, it's a very complex problem. There's not a simple answer. There's not a one-size-fits-all answer either. So I know that that's one of the things that the E3 Center is all about. So equip, educate, empower. Those are the E3s, the 3 E's. And we've got Diana Garbis. Tell us your number one more time.
936-521-2146.
And if you'd like any more information about the classes that are there, you can call Diana, you can call us. We also can offer the same, very similar classes out in the community as well. And our number is 936-539-7825. And I'm Amy Ressler. Thanks for being here, Mike. Thanks for being here, Diana.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for checking out this production of Lone Star Community Radio. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station. Don't forget to check out this show and many others across the Lone Star Community Radio Network, either live on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, the Lone Star Internet Radio app, or irlonestar.com's live audio stream, and on replay on podcast, Channel 12's Our City TV in Conroe, or Channel 21 KVQT in Houston, and of course their YouTube channel. This production is copyrighted and all rights are reserved by Lone Star Community Radio. Have a question regarding this program or other Lone Star Community Radio shows? Want to sponsor or start your own show? Call the station message line at 936-647-3776 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.